Okay, welcome to today's episode of Body by Bison. Today I am joined by Maria Lazarava, who was the host of Flirting with Reason, and she's here to talk with us about relationships, bringing that specialty into the fold. Welcome, Maria. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, thank you for having me. This is exciting.
So
A thorny subject.
Oh, yeah.
Relationships and physical appearances. I guess they go hand in hand, right?
100%. I've always found that either relationships on some level, in some degree, have always been a huge impact for people when it comes to their health and their fitness, whether they are looking to attract a potential partner or they just want to feel good about themselves in their current relationship, keeping that person interested, or just knowing they have the confidence in themselves to attract other people should the need arise. So I feel like we're going to have a lot of fun with this conversation as well.
Definitely.
Just to start us off, why don't you just give the audience a bit of a background into how you got into the relationship side of things?
Well, I think I need to, as a disclaimer, I'm definitely not a relationship therapist or advisor. I think, I started having a show with my former co-host, Nikos, a couple of months ago. And, it was part of Ayn Rand Center UK. And, we felt like there was a gap and we wanted to fill it. We kind of wanted to talk about relationships and look at them from a more philosophical angle. And every week we would pick a topic that was, either something that was in the news or something that we maybe thought about or were going through. And we kind of tried to look at the bigger picture. And so I guess, from a personal experience, I usually tend to kind of talk about my own experience in relationships and kind of draw any conclusions or any questions or any solutions from personal experience. So yeah, I guess I can only speak for myself, but also speculate, kind of based on what I see people going through around me, be it friends or just kind of keeping a close eye on how people deal with things that concern, matters of the heart.
Well, I'm looking forward to going into some of your experiences and sharing some of what you've learned, and hopefully the people who are listening and watching this today can hopefully improve not just on a physical plane, but also maybe have deeper, more meaningful connections with people and have the confidence in knowing how to do that. And plus, I'm sure we will have funny stories along the way to share, which is always quite fun.
Definitely.
So the first question I've got is that, people use physical exercise and nutrient-dense diets for all sorts of reasons. What role has it played in your life? And looking back, how do you think it's helped or hindered you in your personal and professional life?
Yeah. I'm someone who probably throughout my life, I've had phases where I was sort of very fitness conscious, and then other periods where I was much more relaxed, lazy, maybe focused on other things and didn't care so much about that aspect. So, of course, I can confidently say that at the times when I was more conscious about, staying fit and eating healthy, that never had a negative impact. You can only draw positives from that experience. First of all, endorphins, you're working out, you're happy, you're in a good mood. I always used to think that literally if you woke up in a bad mood or if you were having a bad day, go for a 30-minute jog or, I don't know, do some jumping jacks. There's just something about physical exercise that I don't know if it had like a physical reaction in your body. I don't know if it's the blood that gets pumping or, just something that genuinely makes you feel better after a workout. And of course, the more long-term effects is that if you're eating well and you're exercising, you look better, you feel better. You're in a better mood. If you're in a better mood, you're more relaxed. You're probably more confident around people. So it's positives all around. Um, and of course, in your personal life, again, I do think that when we feel that we look our best, we definitely are more attractive to other people. But even, you know, you don't have to go from like losing a lot of weight to being really skinny or really ripped. I think it's just, even just a consistent, kind of workout lifestyle makes a difference. I don't know. I think it gives you that glow, and I think people pick that up. So
I think it's really interesting that you mentioned that glow. So when I was growing up, I wasn't very confident with girls at all. I was always the friend. So if you've seen Just Friends with Ryan Reynolds in it, where he's the fat guy, that was me. Like I started off being the fat guy, and I was just really good friends with the girls. I couldn't work out like just why I couldn't find an attraction or something that was going on. And so I thought, oh, you know what? Clearly, I'm just not big and strong enough. I need to start going to the gym and working out. And I found that, it was a very interesting experience, because the more you get into it, the more obsessive you start to come. You start looking into the mirror and you're like, okay, the girls are all going to find me super attractive as long as, like, once this line starts to appear or once that line starts to appear. And it's all kind of building to this moment, which in my head at that age, I thought I was working towards the beach moment where I was going to walk onto the beach. The sun was going to be just coming up. Lighting was going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And I would have been in a hoodie, because it's clearly very appropriate beach wear. And then the hoodie would have come off. I would have already been pre-oiled to perfection. Yeah. And everyone around me would stop and stare, and I would become the most popular man on the beach.
Yeah. slow motion as you're undressing yourself.
White doves just flying through the air.
Yeah.
But as you can imagine, like, not only did I never get to that stage, but I never got confident enough to get to that stage. So I always kept looking into the mirror, moving those goalposts, because I'd attached so much meaning to what I'm going to look like. And attaching my self-worth in, like, girls will only find me attractive if this. But because that goalpost was constantly moving, it was just a complete minefield. So I never unveiled at all, because I was just so afraid that people would just be like, oh, it's not that. And then you're building it up in your own mind to a plateau that no one's ever going to reach.
Yeah.
And so for me, I didn't start that glow that you were just talking about, that charisma is what people really respond to. I only started coming in play when I ditched the 2-hour workouts 5 days a week. I was like, this is just too much.
Yeah.
So, but what I really enjoy is getting more involved in some sports and just doing a little bit of strength training. And then just because I was starting to enjoy things a little bit more, you're able to have a bit more fun with it.
Definitely.
Have you got any experiences like that for you?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, thinking that it is the six-pack in itself that is going to make you confident or get you girls or get you guys is kind of like a faulty premise to begin with. So you shouldn't I think you need to look at the bigger picture. So it's not that when I'm ripped, I will be able to get someone. It's that once I become the type of person who values how I look, that is, selfish enough to want to be the best version of myself, the six-pack will be kind of like a byproduct of this discipline that I have, of this newfound love that I have for myself. Essentially, I'm working out because I want to be stronger, I want to be leaner, I want to be healthier. People will find you attractive when you're a strong, confident, healthy person, not just when you're like a self-conscious wreck, but you have a six-pack, right? So it's the six-pack in itself is not kind of the goal, the end product. It's it's everything else that you go through once you decide that you want to be healthier, that you want to be more fitness conscious. So I think that's why even if you were, to get so ripped, if that's just an end in itself, you're probably going to be ripped, but just as miserable as you were if you were overweight.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's the process, and it's the change in your character, I think, that almost acts as the defining factor. It's mostly just discipline and like a newfound love for yourself. Like, I want to be healthier. That's why I'm doing this. I want to be stronger. This is why I'm doing this. People will notice that, that's going to shine through, and that's what's going to attract them to you.
So it's quite fun when you say the body, the ripped physique, for example. I don't know what the female equivalent would be. Probably the more curvy kind of look. I suppose it comes in phases with women, from what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, if you make it the body, the way you look, the end in itself, that's all you have to offer in that relationship. And very quickly, I've seen people in the past where there is some sexual attraction, and it may go as far as them having sex. But very quickly things start to fizzle out when they're like, oh, this person is just boring.
Yeah.
And I mean, what are your thoughts on that? What have you had any experiences with that, with someone that you've been very, very attracted to, sexual or otherwise, and then once you've spent any kind of time with them, like what were your findings?
Well, yeah, I mean, there is.
I say findings almost like it's a scientific experiment every time.
Findings based on your experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there is that, like, there is generally a stereotype. Sorry, that's my intercom ringing. But we don't need to worry about that. I think there is that stereotype that, and I think that's fueled a little bit by maybe Hollywood rom-coms, that, like, there's the really beefed up guy, but he's all empty inside and a bit of a douche, and he's mean to girls, and he's not a lot of fun, and he's just like ripped, and that's all that he can offer. And then there's like the really kind of either like a really like thin small guy, but he's like the nice guy, he's like the hero, or the maybe like the kind of like overweight guy. And I mean, so I guess the stereotype there is that generally people that have like a more to offer, a bit more character, that are a little bit deeper, aren't very focused on looks. So maybe that's why they're not as fit. But I think in this day and age, why not be both, right? It's all, this is in your hands. So much like you train a muscle at the gym, you also need to train your mind and be an interesting person to talk to. And and vice versa. If you're someone who's a little bit more of like a bookworm, and you're a bit self-conscious about going to the gym, or you've never really paid a lot of attention to your physical appearance, because you spend a lot of time, I don't know, reading and studying, but then you also need to appreciate that, much like you are trying to train your mind, you need, the body has to follow.
Yeah.
We as humans, we are a whole, the mind and the body, and they're not separate things. They're one whole thing. So you need to be able to integrate those things. But yeah, I to your point, I guess, yeah. I mean, I personally haven't met that many people that were like so ripped, but like super boring to speak to.
They've always been ripped and brainy.
They've been ripped and brainy. Wow, I was lucky. I guess I was lucky enough. But yeah, I guess there is that, that stereotype. But I think with I'm really happy about kind of like this health kick wave that I think we've all been going through. And I don't know whether it's social media that fueled that, or I don't know, I feel like a couple of years ago, or maybe even more, something's changed on like a cultural level. We've all just become a bit more health conscious, and I love that. I think that's great. And of course, we all need to decide how best to use that. But yeah, so I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean,
But I tried.
definitely gives me a few insights there. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a couple of things that you did mention about the stereotypes between the beefed up guy who's mean to women and the stereotypical like skinny guy who is Mr. Nice Guy. Let's call him Mr.
Yeah.
Nice Guy. I've read the book actually called No More Mr. Nice Guy, and
Okay.
it take like in films it's always very romanticized. I always find these relationships actually, if you break them down, that quite a lot of them are unhealthy when they're portrayed in these movies. And what you see as a nice guy, and then he gets the girl in the end just through being persistently in the background, and it's like all of a sudden some catastrophe happens in the girl's life, and she's like, oh my god, I just realized you were the one that was always there. And that's when in real life that doesn't really play out, because the nice guy, although may just be sitting there in the background, there is that sort of silent resentment that just builds up of false kind of ego, you could possibly say, thinking I'm always nice to her. I'm giving her all the attention and the things she needs. I'm better than all these other people. So I shouldn't have to change. But if I'm patient enough, then she'll find me attractive. And that's when things can start getting a bit strange with some people. And I don't know if there are plenty of movies I could think of in this example, but another great book I read called Models by Mark Manson, who wrote Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, or something like that. Yeah. And he said, when speaking to women tend to really feel the intention behind the words. So whether someone comes up to you, no matter really how they look, the attraction will play some part of it, because we all are attracted to something. We all have preferences. But whether someone says to you, hey, Maz, or like, young lady, I think you're very attractive, you can get the sense of like, oh, if he's just genuinely saying it, you can get a sense of, oh, that's lovely, thank you for saying that. You can get a sense of if he's saying it and then in a way that you think, oh, he's actually flirting with me, I quite like this, or I'm not really into this. Or you can really pick up the sensation of, this dude is creepy, like as heck, like, please just get away from me. You almost feel that slime is just coming off you from the way they're saying it. No matter what the words are, it's the intention behind them, which I always find quite interesting. And that really seems to link into what you were just saying about that whole false dichotomy.
Yeah, and to your first point, like the thin or maybe like overweight guy who isn't, I don't know, like physically kind of the like a traditional attractive guy, kind of like sitting in the background waiting for a crisis to happen. Again, I don't think that is a healthy way to live, and it's a shame that Hollywood movies they kind of foster that idea, because he also always gets like the most beautiful girl. But well, first of all, I think the girl has to be attracted to the guy to begin with. You shouldn't have to wait for something bad to happen. You shouldn't have to wait for the fit, mean guy to do something horrible to her for her to then notice, like, oh, well, actually, this scrawny looking dude is kind of pining over me, so I'm going to go and be with him. And of course, I'm being facetious, I'm exaggerating this a little bit. So yeah,
well,
like
just from that though, like, isn't that a bit of a, just from that element, isn't it just a bit like she's settling?
Exactly. She's settling, and
he's sacrificing his time and potential on someone who's more worthy of what he wants and who would be better fit for him, and just sort of being miserable.
Yeah.
And she's sacrificing her own standards, to what it sounds like, for what she can get away with and be with someone.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, again, there's almost like they're both starting from like a bit of like a point of dishonesty. So I think that if things like that were to happen in real life, and they often do, I think that maybe these relationships don't progress as well as they should. Now, of course, that's, you know, I don't want to trigger people and say like it's all about the looks, but I think, again, recently, there's been a lot of body positivity that's been going around. And I think that that kind of, it makes up for like the 90s and the early 2000s, where being really thin was kind of like the, what do you call it? Like the trend.
Size zero.
Yeah, the size zero, you know, the overly photoshopped women. And we kind of moved away from that as a culturally, as a society. So there's a lot of body positivity. And that's great. But I think what body positivity really is when people who are in the fitness industry, when they come out and they say, I don't look this ripped all the time, I get bloating as well. It's all about the lighting, it's about the angles. So please don't be too hard on yourself, because even I, who dedicate my whole life to being fit, you know, have days when I don't look like the model that you are used to seeing. So I think that's great, because that puts things into context for people, that bodybuilders don't look like bodybuilders every day. But what happened is we kind of went the whole other way, where, you know, overweight people, and, you know, again, this isn't to offend anyone, but, you know, excess weight carries all sorts of risks for your health. So you need to accept those things. But I think we kind of like went from one extreme, where it's all like size zero, you know, cigarettes for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, to kind of this overly body positive, where it's like, you're great the way you are, don't change a thing. And I think that that's had like an adverse effect, where people who maybe should care a little bit more about their levels of fitness were kind of like, oh, well, I'm now put at ease because, you know, I'm great as I am. So yeah, I think we went from kind of one extreme to the other. Yeah. There was a point that I was going to make, but I think I went off on a tangent.
I just want to pick up on one thing you did say, and it's really, really important that when you see these people on the magazines, these fitness models, these Instagram models, you have to remember that these people that is their job.
Yeah.
Right. They are there and they are working hard. They are dieting hard to look amazing for that 1 second in front of a camera, to catch the right angle, the right lighting, the right everything. All the elements sort of have to fit together. Same thing for the movie stars. There are things on set. In between takes, people are pumping weights to give the best kind of physical appearance. People don't look like that all the time.
Yeah.
And what you often get, I mean, Instagram, as an example, is probably, I'm going to be bold here. I'm going to go really extreme. I'm going to suggest that it's probably looked at the most when people are on the toilet. That's when people do their most serious scrolling, when they're on the toilet. So, and they start looking at people who are amazing, and they're comparing themselves at their worst, in the worst lighting, you know, especially if you're in a train station, the light's not even working, it's flickering on and off, you're wondering what the hell that stain is on the floor, and you've got all this stuff going on, you're comparing yourself at your worst to these amazing, well-lit, well-chiseled people. Yeah. And it's very easy to start those kinds of thoughts like spiraling in your head, thinking, oh, no one. And then when they think about their own lives, it's like, oh, God, you know, I'm not happy. And it's that person's fault I'm not happy. Yeah. You know, you've said about body positivity. I think you're right. I think it's wonderful that people feel more confident in saying, this is my shape. Yeah. And I think that's where it's deserved. Like, these are my genetics. Mm-hmm. I am not built like Usain Bolt. Yeah. Believe it or not, if you put a picture of Usain Bolt next to me topless, we're not identical twins. Yeah. You know, I'm much darker than he is. But, but like, we have different genetics, we have different attributes, and that is what I think should be celebrated. If you look at every sport, I think in this context is the evolution accelerated. Is when you see the absolute peak of what your genetics can achieve.
Yeah.
And I think that's wonderful. I genuinely think that's wonderful. When you look at the upper end of the scale, you think that is what my body type can look like. And there are lots of athletes and Olympians and sports who aren't ripped and defined because it's actually not very practical for their sport to be ripped and defined for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Where I'm not for it is, if you are obese and you think, I genuinely love my life. I love my life. I love everything I do from the moment I get up to the moment I go to bed. Love the way I look, the way I feel. Great. Then absolutely, you have got the right lifestyle and I would commend you. Regardless of what that does to how long you live, you're, by loving your lifestyle that much, you're accepting those consequences of a shorter lifestyle, but it's a worthy trade if that's what you deem fit. But when it comes to the people who are probably not loving their life, who are waking up feeling more about shame and looking at other people and thinking they are the reason why I can't be happy because they are putting this unrealistic expectation on me. That's when I'm not for body positivity, because it kind of takes a bit of a weird turn and it gives people an excuse to attack other people, which I'm not for. And it leaves them quite bitter, I find.
Yeah, and I think it can have kind of like a counter effect where you know that you're not happy with your life, but everyone around you is telling you, you are great, you're doing great, you don't need to lose weight. And you're almost like, you're kind of thinking, yeah, they're right. I don't need to, but you don't feel happy. So you're almost like, well, why am I not happy? Everyone's telling me that I'm doing great, but I still feel unhappy. It's because, there maybe are attaching too much significance to what others are telling them. A lot of the time, losing weight is seen as something that's like vain and superficial and shallow, or like looking attractive. And, some people deem it shallow. And of course, that's crazy because, again, it's about how having a fit, strong body makes you feel and the effect that it has on other areas of your life. So if you know that your life is going to be better, make changes. Just to that point, I think recently, so I don't know if people know about Adele, the singer. She's had a massive transformation.
Amazing.
In recent years. And she was overweight. And I think she knew that she was. And, she decided that she wanted to change that. And she kind of went under like MIA, under the radar. She was recording a new album. She had a baby. She had a breakup. She got divorced. She went on this transformational journey, and she's just come out looking fantastic, and I'm sure feeling fantastic as well. And the amount of abuse that she has online, where people are saying things like, oh, I'm so disappointed. I felt like Adele was one of us. It's like, how can you be unhappy for someone who, first of all, her decision, what she wanted to do, lose weight or not lose weight. Then secondly, how can you even make it about yourself? Like, oh, I'm disappointed that Adele lost weight. She's glowing. She's enjoying life so much more. She looks great. That's where it's like, it's really sinister. I think that attitude.
So it's really interesting when I'm with my clients. One of the things I have to coach them with sometimes when there is such an extreme transformation. So oftentimes when they want to change, and this is their partner has to be on board. For changes to happen, their partners have to be on board, because the biggest impact to your daily habits is your environment. Yeah. And part of your environment will be your partner. Now, usually at the beginning, there's no problem. They are willing to support, willing to guide. It's always great. As they start to lose weight, oh, honey, you're looking so much better. Great. Then it gets to a point where they lose a bit more weight and they start looking even better. And then it's like, oh, I think you've lost too much. And at that point, it's reminding them and when people start receiving comments from outside as well, it's that when people say stuff like that, what they're really saying, they might not even mean to say it, but what's really coming across is, you make me feel bad.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a journey for everyone to go on, because at the same time, that person, that individual wants to look their best so they can feel their best. So if you're happier, you're going to have a happier partner, you're going to have a happier family, you're going to be able to do things even better. But from the relationship side, those insecurities start coming across, where it's the, who else are they going to attract?
Yeah.
Does this mean I now have to work harder? I don't want to work harder. And those sorts of things start to creep in with these relationships. And that's where I seem to find, or like some problems I've seemed to find, and situations I've been in myself. I mean, you know, the honeymoon period where you're in the relationship, things are great. You just sort of start breaking out of the good habits of the gym and the healthy eating, because you're going out for meals more, and you know, you want to sleep in and go on more dates, so you don't go to the gym as much, or you don't look after yourself as well as you normally would have. And then you start to, I don't know what it's called, it's probably like the honeymoon 10 or something, where you put on like 10 pounds over the course of like the first 6 months of being with that person. And then as you get more comfortable with that partner, more and more starts to slip, because you think, I've already got them, I don't need to work as hard to keep them.
Yeah.
That kind of mentality starts coming in. And I've been there. I thought, I've got the girlfriend now, it's okay. But then you just find yourself start to slide in all other areas, and you don't, even though you've got the girl, you don't feel as good.
Yeah.
Is that something you've experienced in your relationships in the past? Or have you always just been very... I've been amazing.
No, I've absolutely not. And like I've had, phases, and again, like I said at the beginning, my kind of dedication to fitness has always been in waves. So the complacency aspect, like you get comfortable in relationships, that's definitely the obvious answer. People always assume, well, I've already got the partner, they will find me attractive no matter what. So, people can let themselves go a bit.
Sometimes unconditional love.
Unconditional love, exactly. Then there's this, or sometimes it's even worse, it's something more sinister. It's sometimes we know our partner will find us less attractive, but we're like, oh, well, we're married, so I have him locked in, so he's not going to leave me, like, but
I get half.
Exactly. that's the extreme end. But it's almost like we take our relationships for granted. We're like, I've got him, I've got her, why should I want to impress? Of course, the saddest part of all of this is your partner is the main person you should want to impress every day. Now, of course, that's not to say that you should never feel self-conscious in your relationship, and your partner isn't there to remind you every day, like, oh, you don't look good today, you should really impress me more. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that, when you're in love and, you've got this person that you're on this journey with, you hold yourself and them to such high esteem that you kind of always want to be the best version. A relationship it's like when you're at work, when you value what you do, and you value what your colleagues have to say about you, you're always on your best behavior. I don't know why we slip into this pattern where we are literally often our worst with the people who matter the most. And that's, again, I think it comes with this, like, oh, we feel like we've got them, like I could just be my worst now. And that's sad, because in fact it's your loved ones that you need to be your best for, not some stranger on the street who might find you physically attractive.
Yeah.
I will, to throw that back to a bit more of like a philosophical way to look at things, it's because people are not selfish enough. So if you are selfish enough, I know it sounds controversial, but when you're selfish, you want to be the best version of yourself. You take pride in yourself. So, a lot of people lose sight of that. They think it's the opposite. They think, oh, if I'm going to go to the gym too often, that's being selfish. Like, well, yes, but the reason behind it should be different. It's because you want to be your best, because you want to be the best for yourself and the people around you who matter to you. The relationship aspect of things, for sure, I think when people get into relationships, definitely put on some weight. I mean, unless you're dating a personal trainer or someone who is super fitness conscious and they motivate you to adopt their lifestyle. Most people aren't, right? Most people have like very average activity levels. When you get into a relationship, you have date nights or you cook together more, and that's great. I would never tell anyone to forego these things. Those are bonding experiences. You know, as a single girl, I can get by with having like a salad for dinner, but in my previous relationships, you know, dinner time was often the only time that you get together with your partner, and you want to make that special. And sometimes you want to cook more elaborate meals because, again, maybe you want to impress them, or maybe you want to try something new. You know, you wouldn't normally cook something for yourself. You know, you want cooking is fun when it's shared with someone. So, but I think that's great. Those are all bonding experiences that you have with your partner, and going out to nice dinners and restaurants. A few pounds, a few extra pounds are definitely worth that. But then you should kind of reevaluate your, you know, activity levels. And if anything, start working out together. Like I was always very self-conscious about going to the gym with like a boyfriend, but I think as I got older, I kind of got rid of those inhibitions. I never used to like going to the gym with a friend because I always found it was a distraction. And generally going to the gym can be a very personal, like intimate experience for a lot of people. But I think when like going to the gym with a boyfriend or a girlfriend is a lot of fun, and you motivate each other more. You may be trying to show off a little bit more. So you're, you know, you're putting a bit more effort into your workouts. And also at the end of the day, it's just an hour well spent. So why not? You know, don't skip the pasta if that's something that, you know, brings value to your relationship, if it enhances your evening together. But, you know, reconsider some other things, reconsider your level of, yeah, of how often you work out, or, you know, maybe have like detox days and do it together, motivate each other. But that also comes with having a partner who like supports you. So, you know, you need to be conscious about who you choose, you know, as a
Yeah.
boyfriend or a girlfriend, because we do tend to adapt to other people's not behavior, but you know, we do start to mimic each other, I think, in relationships. So, you know, if your partner is on the lazy side, then you're probably gonna feel demotivated, or you're constantly gonna feel like underappreciated and maybe like unfulfilled if you're someone who really values, you know, fitness. It's great if, like, if you're the fit one in the relationship, it's great if you can motivate the other person. But if the opposite happens, if you're kind of made to feel guilty about wanting to look good, then that's definitely not healthy.
So this is something I always say to my clients, is that focus on you. Don't worry about your partner. Don't worry about, if you want to share things, if they ask, feel free to let them know what you're doing. That's okay. But you cannot force this stuff on other people, because it's a lot. It's a real personal thing. Now, unlike you enjoy working out with your partner, I don't. For me, it's a very my workout time is my workout time. I like, it's a time, it's my time to be mindful, to reflect, to, I make it a full experience, you know, just everything from the drive to the gym to, you know, getting the coffee and just sitting down, going through my notebook, going through my plan. For me, it's a huge thing. And that's just like my piece of myself. And, you know, many clients have come to me and it's like, that's their chance for their me time. It's a chance for them to actually let down their guard and just be like, oh, okay, cool. This is what it's like. And I often say to people, you know, when you come to the gym, it's this room is a vault. Whatever you leave here, it stays here, doesn't go anywhere else. Just let it all out. And it gives people a chance to actually get some of their frustrations, get some of their anger out, get some of, you know, get a good feeling inside them so they can keep progressing and then go back oftentimes with a clearer head. Because as you can imagine, especially with lockdown, living under someone and those habits do start to mesh and stuff, you just need to separate and be like, hey, I just need some time to reevaluate and then come back and I'm good to go.
No, definitely. And that's a huge, again, like going to the gym is very personal. And I guess maybe when I said that, I've always been kind of like, I never had like a personal trainer, for example, that I worked out with. I never had a particular program that I followed. I've kind of like, the gym has just been like a constant in my life. And it's, on some days, some years, I was much more dedicated to it, and then other times less so. So I think, but it was, and I would definitely agree, like if I was to start working out with a personal trainer or having like a specific program, and especially if you're someone who is, it is overweight and you've got this goal, you're not just going to the gym to kill an hour, like you're not just faffing around, then definitely that is something that's very personal and very like me time.
Vulnerable as well, very vulnerable.
Absolutely. And yeah, maybe having your partner then is more pressure, more stress, and just like a distraction. So potentially before you can start maybe working out together, like if that's something that you want to do, definitely you need to go through all the other motions first. You need to first be very comfortable and confident at the gym. You need to know what you're doing. You need to know that like your partner isn't going to like judge or laugh at you or whatever.
Even push you when you don't want to be pushed.
Exactly. So yeah, it's definitely not for everyone. And I think it probably only works for people in a relationship who are a very similar level of fitness, and their goal at the gym is the same.
Yeah.
I'm here for my daily, kind of like my daily workout, and it's sort of like I don't know, it's like a lifestyle thing for me. I think
I think it's cool to go to the gym with your partner and then be like, right, okay, we'll reconvene here back in say whatever time, and it's good to go. It's just I'm always like, when I've seen very few successes of couples who actually work out together. If you are watching this and you're one of those couples, please drop us a comment or send us something. I'd love to hear more about you. But I feel like the gym and IKEA car park highlight areas to go for like drama with relationships.
You mean shopping for furniture?
I think more just trying to get it in the car. I told you it wasn't big enough.
Well, then trying to assemble it at home.
Oh God. So just I'm going to sort of backpedal a little bit. Mm-hmm. When it comes down to so let's talk to the single people here, and obviously you are single yourself. So when you look for a potential partner, how important is the actual physical side of it to you? And what is it you look for?
Very important. I mean, the physical is the first frontier, right? It's very rare that we hear someone's voice or something that they say, and we're like, oh, I'm attracted to this thing that this person has to say without looking at them. The first thing that you notice is how it was, the appearance. I mean, I think it's not about isolated things about a person's body, although I'm sure there are people that are, that might be very specific, like, oh, I really love broad shoulders, or like, I don't know, toned arms. But again, it's never these things in isolation. It's always what the person looks like as a whole. And but also how the person carries themselves. So fitness, again, going back to what I said previously, if you're someone who, works out and is healthy and is active, you're going to look good almost by default, because again, you're more confident, you're more at ease. You know that you've got something to offer. So it's the way that you carry yourself that I think essentially kind of attracts the other person. Or, you might notice someone who's physically attractive, kind of just like a shell, but everything else has to follow afterwards as well. It's what we said earlier about like the really beefed up guy, but with very little to kind of offer on a, emotional level, maybe. And that's not to say that all guys are absolutely not.
We're going to have that in a big quote on this is just for t-shirts you could buy. And Maz says,
no, we're playing into stereotypes, right? So yeah, I think, and then it's once you start to get to know a person, it's definitely, so a fit body in itself is not what is attractive. It's kind of like well, how did that person get to having a fit body? And that's when you start to like peel the onion, where you're like, okay, well, this person is disciplined. This person, values their appearance. This person, wants to have good self-esteem, and they're doing something consciously to achieve that. So I think when someone tells you like, oh, I like you because you're fit, it's a bit of an insult, because it's like, well, why do you think I'm fit? I want you to tell me what you think made me fit. So I want people to recognize that, being fit is a lot of willpower. It's a lot of discipline. It's a lot of effort. And those are the kind of like the most commendable attributes, right? So yes, aesthetically looking pleasing is nice. And when you look good, you feel great, and you've got this like sass about you. But I think, yeah,
Sorry,
it wouldn't be enough. It wouldn't be enough. Sass, like sassiness.
Oh, right. I very rarely hear that as an attribute people look for. Oh, you got to be so sassy.
Well, no, I think like it makes you feel good. So it's not enough when it wouldn't be enough for me if a guy told me, I like you because you're fit, or I don't think it would be enough. It wouldn't be a compliment in itself to tell a guy, you're buff. And it's like, well, what does that really mean? All it means is that he's physically fit. But, what on a deeper level, what that means is this person is working on themselves. And that's a really attractive quality.
There's I've been set up on like blind dates before, and very few words send shivers down my spine like the ones when they say to you, oh, it's got such a beautiful soul. And I'm like, brilliant. Okay. We all know what that means. Like, you found the troll underneath a bridge or something. I'm sure that some of these people are like wonderful personalities, but it's amazing that when they're selling that kind of idea of someone, definitely feel like less is more in that kind of managing expectations.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, just like you can't be only attracted to the physical side, like you can be pulled in and enticed by the physical side. But at the same time, you can be really engaged with the soul element, the everything about that person. Think, wow, this person is amazing. I love this person. I think they're great. I'm just not attracted. There's just no like the chemistry, as it were, that people look for.
Yeah.
It's the blend of the physical and the emotional and the intellect and all of those wonderful things that sort of accumulate together to give you that effect, that finished product effectively.
Yeah, for sure. And that's definitely, then that's what we should all kind of strive for in attaining ourselves. Like, the physical has to match our physical attributes. They need to match our inner world, and we need to integrate those two together. And essentially that's what we're looking for in other people. So you can be very attracted to someone's physical attributes, but have kind of zero urgency to like be with them, regardless of how great looking they are. And that's why I think that's just like the physical is just the first. And that's not to say that it's not important. I think we have been trying with kind of this conversation to show that it is important, but it's not just like an isolated thing. It's what it means about you. If you look good, it means you take care of yourself, it means you value yourself. So those are all the things that kind of like add layers.
I think the other important part to add to that is that what the goal of this is. So for example, if your goal is just to sleep with as many people as possible, then I'm sure how attractive and how physically fit you look matters way more.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit like when you're going fishing, you've got to have a very attractive hook to get that bite, and your chances will probably improve.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas if your goal is to actually establish that connection, to find a relationship of someone who is both equally beautiful and intelligent and has all the other things, then it's like more about having a more well-rounded kind of persona. The way I like to think of it is people are very people always think of things in like a triangle, right? So it's just like you have the looks at the bottom, and then, you know, you have the charismatic, being able to have a sense of humor is always a big one. And then you just go up the triangle until you get to the pinnacle, the cherry on top. But I like to think of it more as like a circle that sort of spirals out. So as you improve in your health and fitness, just as a byproduct, you're going to find yourself feel more confident, feel more comfortable having a conversation with someone.
Absolutely.
Your posture is going to be more improved. So that means you're going to, just by having your posture improve, you're going to stand and feel more confident anyway. I think there was a study done on standing for 5 minutes in the Superman pose before a meeting. Has significant impacts on how you act throughout the rest of the day. And all of these things, it just spirals out, and it just helps you grow more as a well-rounded individual rather than just relying. Because there was another beautiful, I can't remember where I saw it, but this woman was looking to attract very wealthy men. She was a very attractive woman, and she wanted to attract wealthy men. She wanted to be someone who was looked after. And she wrote this like essay, as it were, to this group where lots of rich people hang out, and saying, what do you guys look for in your women? How am I going to find someone who's going to want to take care of me? Blah, blah, blah. And I think it was the head of JP Morgan who wrote back and said, well, just to let you know, and this is like long story short, a man like in our position, we're only going to increase in value to you. We're only going to earn more. We're only going to be able to offer more. You trading your looks for one thing, over time, you're going to be decreasing in value. So actually going for you based on that alone makes you not worth the investment of time or money. Very quickly, you will be replaced. And it was just very interesting reading that perspective from things as well.
And I think that rings a bell. I feel like I might have read that somewhere, and it's a great example and I feel like it's always very, I think it's always quite fun to link things like that to, and talk about them in like banking jargon, like investment, because we often don't, but like we don't associate like, oh, like, love and relationships. We don't associate it with a trade. But it is essentially a trade, and you need to be trading the same things in order, as in what you're trading has to have equal value for the other person, and like the currency with which you trade has to be the same, So if you're trading looks, then you can only trade looks for looks, because over time, all of our looks are gonna, what's the word, depreciate.
Speak for yourself. I believe I'll be very handsome for the rest of my life.
And of course there are degrees, right? Like there are people who are in their 50s and 60s who look much better than some people in their 30s, and that's only, and like, that's an example of how, if you take care of yourself and you take it seriously, like just how much better you can be for much longer. That in itself should be a motivation enough. But yeah, just going back to that kind of JP Morgan story, it's interesting, and but you need to be trading. The currency with which you're trading has to match the other person's, and any relationship is a trade. I think that triggers people a lot. They feel like, oh, this is so transactional, but
because you're taking the love out of the relationship by stating it that way.
Of course. Well, but what they forget is you can, you are trading, love for love, admiration for admiration, like equal value of each other for equal value in the other person. So yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. I mean, look, we've covered a lot today, and I think I'm going to cap it there. But I mean, just final points. I mean, the main thing that I've got out from this conversation is that, like, to be truly happy in either a single relationship with yourself or with your partner requires so much more than the physical side, so much more than just the emotional side. It's just keeping that balance. And understanding that when you do take the time to improve your health and fitness, that it will reflect in other areas. And it's one of the fastest ways to do it because, Plato and Aristotle were the very first gym owners. No one knows this. Plato and Aristotle were the very first gym owners with the Lyceum. They were like conflicting ideologies, conflicting gyms. And they believed that the mind and body, the very ancient Greeks, the mind and body were inseparable. You could not train one without the other.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's why the whole mind-body connection, they would work out really hard. They'd focus on the dynamic tension, like being able to squeeze your muscles as hard as possible whilst moving. And then they would go and debate after their workouts to let everything flow. And just by doing those things, they, as people, were becoming even better, more valuable members of society, relationships, you name it.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been a fan of Aristotle, but now I have even more newfound respect for him. And just final thought to your point, I feel like we kind of lost sight of that. We feel we put people into two camps, I don't know, not very smart but very good looking, or like very smart and not good looking. And why should those be our only two options? You can definitely be both. Strive to be both. It's exciting, and you will see how one flows into the other. It's great. You don't have to choose between the two, and don't think that and the people around you don't have to fall into one or the other category either. Strive to be both. Body, mind, and soul.
Oh, just one final point, and I feel like this is going to resonate with a lot of people. Speaking of experience on the old dating apps, whenever swiping through, there was always the one most common trait I would come across is, obviously, for some reason, it was always no Tories, and would always be under 6 foot need not apply.
Oh.
Which I always found very, and I was just like, the difference people seem to think 6 foot and like 5'10" or like is just, like 6
Is that
foot.
what girls put in
Seriously,
there?
yeah.
I've never been on the other side, so I've never seen like a female profile looks like for guys.
Yeah. And I'm just like, does 6 foot really make that much of a difference? Of like, once you're 6 foot, you're only a good person if you're 6 foot.
Well, women can be pretty heightist.
On the men's side, I've heard there's lots of tigers, to be fair. I don't know what the hell that's all about.
Oh, a lot of pictures with like a tiger in a zoo, like in Bali or or something. Yeah, there's a lot of those.
I don't know why. It seems like a bit of a weird.
I think men don't have a lot of pictures of themselves, but they will definitely have a picture with a tiger from a holiday, because who would miss a photo opportunity with a tiger? So they kind of go, well, this kind of like shows that maybe I like animals and maybe that I'm well traveled. But there are a lot of profiles of tigers.
If she's not swiping right for me, she's doing it for the tiger. It's just like,
well, exactly. But then also, after we've had the whole like Tiger King fiasco on Netflix, I feel like those pictures have definitely like depreciated in value and don't carry the same level of allure as they might have once.
That's a Maria hashtag top tip, add that to your dating profile.
Yeah,
Maria approved.
Remove that tiger picture. I don't think it's doing you any favors.
And for the guys who, like myself, who are under 6 foot, there is hope out there, guys. Just stay with it. Work on yourself.
Of course. Definitely.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Maria. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom. It was good to have this chat.